up on the porch, just bending them black diamond strings. Lucy up on the porch, he's bending the black diamond strings.
The album itself starts as a concept as I drove across a bayou in Jefferson County with really beautiful yellow flowers, cypress trees coming on a road, on a bayou, are two things that you have on a delta. They're like roads or passages, either in a flat-bottom boat or a car or something like that. So they're what we called a trace, like the old Natchez Trace or stuff like that. And my radio was playing a song that was by a guy not from Arkansas, but a blues player from Mississippi. That was just a fantastic song. And I thought, this is something that I can write songs to, and I can build an album around what I've always should have been writing my songs about. I've had a pretty varied, wide range of songs before, but my stronger songs always came about from past experiences and visions that I thought I saw. So I envisioned this as just songs heard throughout the Delta where people traveled. And then I took my own stories and molded it around those things. Rose's Shack is actually, if you take this album as a whole, and from top to bottom on that, Rose's Shack is the album. Rose's Shack used to be an old juke joint in Wabaseka, Arkansas. It's now a gathering place where farmers, laborers, duck hunters, passers-by come to eat, drink, shoot pool, occasionally listen to music. And Rose is a friend of mine that runs that place, and she runs it really the right way, and she knows how to run a place like this. And it then became a song about who comes in to Rose's and how they react when they're in Rose's, when they're there. And it's just a fantastic amalgamation of what the Arkansas-Mississippi Delta is. I wanted to build it around this, but I also wanted primarily to shine the light on North Jefferson County's fantastic rosters of musicians that were there way before me and were much better than me. So I built it about a basic juke joint in the Delta of Arkansas. With the beginning of all is Big Bill Bronzy, who is I think the premier blues guy from Arkansas. From there, we went to Bobby Rush, to Tail Dragger Jones, Sippy Wallace, and from my hometown, Queen Sylvia Embry. All these people were from that area. Another one is Totsy Davis, who is from that area, who wrote Texas Flood, which Stevie Ray Vaughan made famous. And people think he wrote that, but it was written, all these things were written by these people in North Jefferson County. And it's an area that has just a huge, huge music history that is not noticed and not recognized. So it was my way to try to shine my light on that group of musicians from that era. And those people, nobody knows about those people. Very few people, only blues historians know about those people. So that's what Rose is about.
Spent the next 5 years staring at that Cummins chair.
One of the interesting things about this song is, if you go back and look, there's been several Hambone songs throughout named Hambone this or Hambone that. And Bobby Rush, my friend, did a song called Hambone. So it became automatic then that I wanted Bobby on the song, and he was more than happy to do it. It's a pretty simple song. And I had a really good friend from Dumas, Arkansas, still do. His name is Bo Holtoff. And Bo was the absolute best hand jive, hambone player there was in the world. And I just smiled thinking about Bo doing that. I hadn't seen him in 20 years. Then I thought a little while, and I had a dog. My dog's name is Hambone. And it kind of fit what I was doing there. And I kind of put it in the back of my mind there, went to New Orleans, hung around the quarter for a while, saw the people dancing for nickels and dimes, came back and put a percussion style beat on my guitar, called Dave Hoffpower, who I've done most of those percussion type beats with, who's a drummer, and Jason Weinheimer, who produced the album, said, hey, I got another Bo Diddley song we got to do. And it's just a simple song with a simple thought. It's just that real good jungle beat that you get in the Delta that dot to dot to dot to dot dot that Bo Diddley made famous. And it's just a delta rhythm. That beat is just a delta rhythm. It's not necessarily a blues beat. It's not necessarily a rock beat. What it is a roots beat, which is basically what my music is delta roots music. And it's a story of just a simple life of dancing for nickels and dimes and then going home and not worrying about it. That's all. It's all it is to it.
I say, bye-bye, Goosey, won't you stay away from me?
The Ballad of Goosey Willie, I started writing this about 5 years ago, and I've written 3 different Goosey Willie songs. They all are terrible. Every time I'd write one, I'd record it, and I'd just, beg the studio just to burn it. I don't want to hear it. So Goosey Willie was a convict from, I think, Friars Point, Mississippi, somewhere right across the river from Helena. Goosey had committed a crime in Phillips County, killed a person, and he was put in prison at Cummins. My grandfather was on a board at Cummins, and he was a farmer in that area, and he was able to get labor to help on his farm. Well, Goosey was one of the people he got to get on his farm. Goosey lived at Swan Lake, Arkansas, which is on the Arkansas River on the north side of Jefferson County, and Goosey would sit on his porch with a dobro guitar or electric guitar, and he could sing like a bird, and he could play a guitar like a master. Goosey was challenged in being a good citizen. He got his name from stealing a bunch of people's geese and had a car wreck. They cut him out of the car, and the geese flew out of the car. So that's how he got his name. So I wrote the song basically about Goosey's life. He would play in all the juke joints around Pine Bluff, Nappy's. He'd play at Busy Bee Cafe and All-Timer, which is where Bobby Rush got his start. He'd play in all these things, and then he'd go back to the farm and work for my grandfather and my uncle after that. And he also played with my friend and acquaintance from there, Detroit Johnny. And so when I recorded this song, I wanted some connection to Goosey. And so I asked Johnny to play guitar on there. So Johnny plays kind of a jump blues type guitar on there. You're not going to hear a screaming guitar anywhere on my albums, except maybe some of my protest songs from years gone by. But you're going to hear more of music from a bygone era, from people that played music, wanting the stories to be shined and not necessarily a guitar screaming on there. And so Detroit Johnny came and played on this and was one of the characters in Goosey's life. And Goosey died a horrible death the same way he, took one away. He's, was trying to steal another man's woman, or somebody was trying to steal his woman, and it didn't end well for him. And that's where the Ballad of Goosey Willie comes from. He was a chubby dude. He had a pinstripe suit, two-tone shoes, had a gold chain across his vest right here, tie, carried a suitcase, sweating unbelievable in the hot sun, walking down the road, and a bowler hat. It's a round top hat. And you drive by him and he's going to wave real big at you. Reggie was his name. Reggie waves at you, but he won't take a ride. So Reggie would always walk up and down that highway every Saturday, and you'd see him coming back Sunday. Same suit, same hat, same bag. This is Highway 88, which runs on the north side of the river, Arkansas River, on Jefferson County. And so I still don't know what Reggie did. So I made him up as a harmonica player, going back and forth to the joints in Pine Bluff and All-Timer and Wabaseka to play. Unfortunately, Reggie waved one time when he was in the middle of the road and somebody ran over and killed him. So that's why at the end of the song, I say, stop the music. I say, walk on, Reggie. I wrote this song different than it is now. I wrote this song. I loved the words, but it really bored me. The music was very, very boring. And so I kind of put it on a shelf. Then I went to Robinson Auditorium and heard John Mellencamp. And I said, I could use that. So I changed it from just a walking blues song to a Lonesome Jubilee. No, Jason Weinheimer changed it with my idea to do that, to a Lonesome Jubilee John Cougar Mellencamp song. And you can hear it when we started out, this Jesse Aycock playing that little riff at the front. It's fantastic from there. But Boulder Man is strictly about Reggie and his round top hat. Any album, I think every song I write is going to be a hit once it's recorded. I think it's going to be a hit. It's going to be great. And then I go back and listen to them, and I can't listen to some of them again because they're obviously not hits. And some of them I wished I'd never had my name on them there. But if I go back and look at this, I have 3 songs that I'm really, really favorite songs I've written in my life. One of them is Going Back to Colorado, which has absolutely nothing to do with the Arkansas-Mississippi Delta. The second song I have, was one of my favorites, is Sundown Town, which has everything to do with that. And my third song, my favorite third song that I've written is Storyville Shooting Star. And it is a song that I go back and bring a character from a past 2 albums ago back in Spider Lily. And I change her a little bit. It starts in Beale Street with a blues guy playing a harmonica. And from there, it's a guy who is chasing his girlfriend around. She basically leaves him to go be a star. She has a beautiful voice, but she's a little wild and leaves this poor guy sitting more than likely in my mind in between Memphis and Helena. He journeys his way down the Mississippi River and finds her in New Orleans. So the song starts with the Delta blues music of Memphis, Helena, Greenville area. He catches a boat or gets on a boat at Natchez at the Trace. Once again, goes back to Delta Trace. Gets on the Delta Queen, goes down the muddy slow, and gets to New Orleans and finds Spider Lily in Storyville. Storyville was really rough and tumble place. And so she's not living the greatest life in New Orleans. So it starts out with that blues guy playing, and by the end of the song, I've transitioned it to New Orleans piano, like from Professor Longhair type piano, to the horn music that you hear, the horn jazz music that you hear in New Orleans. And it's a simple story of a man chasing the woman he loves. And she really doesn't have time for him at all. But he finds her, and that I kind of leave it there and let everybody think with it. But I like the song a lot. If you're going to look for a song that says this is a song Billy Jeter would write, it's that kind of song. It's got characters in it. It's got a pretty good story to it. It's got an almost blues beat, but it's got an almost feel of a kind of swamp music to it. So it's kind of all the amalgamation of that. That's one of my favorite songs I've ever written. It's not, I don't think, a commercial type song that you're going to hear on the radio every day, but it's, if you'll listen to it and give it a chance, and the musicians on it are just phenomenal. Well, first and foremost is the producer in the studio Fellowship Hall sound, Jason Weinheimer. I don't consider myself a guitar player. A guitar is a blunt instrument to me. It is an instrument that I can make a sound on and write a song to. I am first and foremost consider myself a songwriter. I have a sheet of paper so I can scratch stuff out. I have an old Gibson guitar, either this one or another one. And I have an iPhone, and I'll have an idea, and I'll kind of work a really, really rough idea of what I want to do, and I send it to Jason. And Jason refines it, makes suggestions, I'll make suggestions, and we build the song up from there. So he's first and foremost in this. The musicians that we have on this album are local musicians and nationally known musicians. They're just fantastic. Jesse Aycock from Tulsa. People that play several instruments are Jason Weinheimer and Phil Brockstein, Jason Lee Hale from Little Rock, Pat Lindsay from Little Rock, Lance Womack from Little Rock, Greg Spradling from Little Rock, Detroit Johnny from Pine Bluff, Arkansas, Bobby Rush from Sherrill, Arkansas. He'll tell you Jackson, Mississippi now, but we don't acknowledge that. The vocalist on it besides me and some of the others are Sarah Thomas and John Jeter. And John also is a co-writer with me on Gonna Sing on that. That amalgamation of talent that we have access to here can compete with anywhere. And so I get the idea of what I want, I send it to Jason, he puts a vision to it and a sound to it. He gets the musicians, and we build it together and go from there.
Over there. Spent the next 5 years staring at that Cummins chair.
I'm a songwriter, so you understand when I do that. So I'm trying to convey a feeling of a song. By conveying a feeling, I'm like a painter or a picture taker. I want somebody to see what I'm singing. I want somebody to smell what I'm singing. There's a great song by a songwriter called Jeffrey Folcott called Des Moines. And he's got a line in that song that says, the highway was liquid and dancing in that song. And if you can't vision the heat coming up from the highway and those little dancing vapors there, that's what I want to get at. That's how I'm pushing for people to feel when they see my song. So I'm pushing for them to get a picture of Rose's Shack. I'm pushing for them to see Boulder Man in his round top hat. I'm pushing for Gonna Sing, which is the choir in a church in the middle of a cotton field. But I also don't necessarily want them to have my vision. I want them to come up with their vision, imagine the song for what they want it to be, and bend it or shape it to their. If you can take my song that I've written and you can put it into your mind and find something completely different than what I wrote, I've done a fantastic job. I have no idea. I'm not saying this is the last album, but I'm sure as hell not saying there's going to be another one. You know, if you've got the wind blowing you somewhere, and if you think it's blowing you to a decent place, go see what it is. The best thing I can ever say, I think, is let's go look over that hill. So what's over the next hill is probably pretty interesting. I have a song I wrote last winter that didn't fit this album about a man in the Rio Grande Valley. And it's a really, really, really good song. So I have more stories to tell. And so that's why I'm never closing the door on this. I've kind of taken a long journey to get to where I am in my songwriting. I didn't start actually writing music until about 8 or 10 years ago. And I go back and look at my songs, and roots music from the Delta is much easier for me to write with past experiences. They're not all blues. Rose's Shack is not a blues song. It's as far as you can, it's nowhere near that. So it's just, I just kind of evolved around as we got to it. Still, just live and work off my experiences in doing that. And from where I come from, those create the greatest stories. And I'm still going to tell them.
Come on in a Sunday afternoon. John is full, better get here soon.